Hi everyone, and welcome to another Excel tips video. Today we are going to learn all about data validation. We're going to go over what exactly data validation does, as well as how to use it in a practical sense. In our example, we are going to create a contact sheet for customers to be able to fill in their name, home state, and phone number. This can be useful, for an example, if we want to run a promotion in a specific state and we want to contact the customers from that specific state or those states if we're running a multiple state promotion. So since I'll be covering a couple things within this video, I will be putting some timestamps in the descriptions below if you want to just skip the whole explanation of what data validation is and go right to getting started. Go into the description, click on the getting started link, and that will take you to the start of the example. I'm also going to put a couple more timestamp descriptions there if you just want to jump around. Definitely feel free. So let's get started. Right here on the spreadsheet, I have three columns that I put headers on. The first column is name, and that's going to be where our customers are going to enter their name. And the second is going to be their home state, and third is going to be their telephone number so we can contact them. Now, we can just leave it like this and have our customers start entering information, but it could be very inconsistent. We want to make sure that we keep our spreadsheets and our tables as consistent as possible. This is going to make our life a lot easier later on when we come to the spreadsheet and want to start analyzing the data that we have. So I know that in column A, since I have name, I want to make sure that only text values can be entered in here. And we can limit the information that individuals can put into a cell by using data validation. Data validation is going to put a rule on the sheet to restrict the type of information or the values that are entered into a specific cell. In this case, we want to make sure that we can only enter text values in the name section. So I highlight A2, which is my first cell in that column. I go over to the Data tab and click on Data Validation. Right here you can see that right now cell A2 can accept any value. I want to go down here, click on that drop down and go over to Custom and put a formula there that says equals is text, open parentheses, and click on A2 to bring that in and close the parentheses. So now I've restricted the type of information that can be entered into that cell. If I try this out and I put 1, 2, 3, it's going to give me an error message not allowing me to enter numeric values. So I go to retry, and if I do A, B, C, it's going to accept it. So now we know that works. Let's go ahead and delete. We can drag this formula down, or this data validation function down, all the way as far down as we want in our table. So now if I go somewhere down here and I put 1, 2, 3, it's going to give me that same error message. So that is how we use data validation to restrict the information that's entered into these cells and make sure that we're only entered text values into column A. Now for home state, well, actually two different variations. Either someone can spell out the entire name of the state or they can put the abbreviation. In order to stay as consistent as possible, what I like to do is create a drop down for things such as states, yes, no values, anything that you want to restrict the information to a specific set of information. In order to do a drop down for states, you can create a second sheet, and this is what I call my cheat sheet. I have information here showing state, either spelled out or state with the abbreviations. I also have capital, state capital, and region. This comes in handy if I want to get a little bit more specific with my information. I can also have list of cities or different information, maybe a list of zip codes within that state or within the area that you service with your company. That way you can make things easier and a little bit more standard. But right now for our example, I'm going to use state, and I'm going to go ahead and use the abbreviation, or let's go ahead and use the full spelling. We'll go back to our first sheet right under home state. Let's go over here back to the data tab, data validation. Under the drop down, we select list. You see that the source is going to pop up. So this is the source of where your list is currently living, and that's on our state info tab. So I'm going to click down here, go over to state info, and I'm going to start highlighting from the first state, which is A2, all the way down to A51. Click OK. And now you can see that this is a drop down with all our states listed here. I can go ahead and click the little jug handle again and drag all the way down to the bottom. And now you can see that every single cell here is a drop down with the same information. This is going to standardize how people enter their states. The very cool thing about Microsoft Excel Online and Office 365 is that this becomes a searchable drop-down list. So if you're using the desktop version of Microsoft Excel, you actually have to scroll down through here and look for your state: New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Wyoming. But if I'm online with Microsoft 365, I can just go here and type the letter N, and every single state that starts with the letter N will appear here, and it becomes a searchable list. This is very handy for longer lists such as this one. If it's just a yes or no value that you're entering into a dropdown, not a huge deal. Also, I do want to note there is another way to use data validation to create a list. And so if I go to here to this D2 and I click on data validation, I can go here and create list, and the source value I can actually type into it. If I do yes, comma, no, that's going to use those two values that I just entered as my list values. So I don't have to reference to another sheet, but I do like to have those other sheets there for the longer lists that I need to create, rather than having to go into each individual and type each individual name here on this list. It just makes things a lot easier, a lot faster, and it's a really cool pro tip to use when creating different tables. So now we have our names formatted, can only enter text. We also have our home state formatted, so it's actually a drop down. Now for phone numbers, we want to make sure that that can stay as consistent as possible. This function that I'm going to use right now is actually not using data validation. It's using more of the cell format or the number format. But I like to use it because it keeps things, tables like this, as consistent and as easy to read as possible. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to go ahead and highlight all the ranges that I have for my table. Actually right click and see where it says number format. If I go to number format, I can go to special. And here you're going to see the different formats that are under the special category. You have zip code +4, phone number, social security. In this case, we want to use phone number. And that is a preset format to make sure that any entries that are entered here are in the telephone number format. And I can just show you what here if it's 555, 555, 5555. And that's automatically going to format it in the telephone format. So now if I put my information here, you can see that this stays very consistent. And if the next person goes in here, very easy to read, very straightforward, and allows us to be able to spend less time trying to reformat and identify what exactly people were trying to put in here. And in this example, it's very simple. So if someone would have actually spelled out Texas or put the abbreviation for Texas, it's very easy to differentiate those, but it still will take some time for us to reformat it in order to be able to search it and look through it to make sure that we're contacting all the customers in the appropriate states that we want to contact. And you can see that you can use data validation or self-formatting to be able to work with larger data sets and larger spreadsheets and make your life as the table owner or the data analyst a lot easier, rather than having to go and reformat things on a regular basis. So in today's video, we just went over data validation for creating a simple contact sheet. If you've liked this video and if you found it helpful, please hit the subscribe button below and the notification button to be notified for future videos that I post. Appreciate the time, and thank you.